In fact, this can get a little crazy, but turn to the person next to you and tell them at least one huge thing that stressed you out this week. Ready? Go.
And you're like, taxes are coming up.
Yeah, taxes.
Okay, let's finish up our conversation.
Hey, my taxes.
Alright, so we don't know if you feel better or even more frustrated after that. And while we didn't hear any of your conversations, boys in the front, please quiet down. Thank you. And even though we didn't hear many of your conversations, we're guessing a lot of them boiled down to the same thing: pressure. And unfortunately, our world has a lot of it. Maybe you feel pressure in the form of sports, school, and other extracurricular activities. Maybe you feel it from your parents or your guidance counselors, or even yourself when you're trying to decide what your future is going to look like. Maybe you feel it in the form of social media, obsessing over how many followers you have, worrying about how many likes your game day post gets, or wondering what you can do to be as perfect as the person with 3,000 followers. If you're like most of us in this room, that pressure feeds a fear of never measuring up, like never being in the friend group that you want, never getting the date that you want, and never having the sense of belonging that you want. Many of you are familiar with the words stress and anxiety. We use them casually when talking about what movie to watch with a group of friends and what to wear. But you also feel them when you're trying to sleep at night, and when you sit down to take a huge test you forgot about, and when you hear your parents arguing in the other room. So the crazy thing is that we experience it in so many different areas of our lives that we often don't even notice it. So I'm going to be real with you guys for a second here. I've been in basketball since I was in 4th grade, and it's been a huge part of my life. But over the years, I noticed that I started not liking it as much, and I never really knew the reason why, because I loved the sport, but it got to the point where I didn't even want to go to practices anymore. And I soon realized that it was because of the pressure from my coaches, my teammates, myself even. But I didn't recognize this pressure because I'm involved in so many other things that also have pressure on me. So I just became so used to pressure. So I didn't recognize what it was actually doing to my life and taking away a joy that I have. So it becomes a natural part of our existence. And if we do notice it, we wonder, is it anxiety or is it just a little bit of stress? Is it normal anxiety or is it just overload? Do I need to get help, or am I just blowing things out of proportion? Do I need to just get over it? When a car is close to running out of gas, the low fuel light comes on, usually accompanied by an annoying beeping sound. It's a warning sign that says, hey Kendra, you better get to the gas station before your dad yells at you for burning a hole in your fuel pump. That's one of the things that stresses me out a lot. But how do you know what the warning signs are when it comes to anxiety? And how do we know when we're in that danger zone? Well, unfortunately, it's not as simple as the fuel level in Kendra's car. We are human beings. We are dealing with a mixture of circumstances, personality, influences, hormones, just to name a few. Every person is different, so it's not always easy to recognize the signs of anxiety. But there are some symptoms that when you identify with them, it is a red flag for sure. For example, when the pressure in your chest is so heavy that you feel like you can't even breathe. Or when it's nighttime and you're trying to fall asleep, but you can't because your mind is racing so fast that you're on a treadmill and you just can't stop. Or when there's knots in your stomach and you feel like you can't focus on anything else. And you have a tough time relaxing most of the time because you just kind of always feel on edge. Now, Kendra and I can relate to this example because as high schoolers, and most of the high schoolers in here will know that when a semester ends, we take semester tests. So this is the thing that really stresses us out because we just got done with our first semester. And that last week is super stressful trying to figure out all the stuff that you need to have done before the semester ends. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. And now that it's over, it's kind of weird not having anything to do. So we feel like there is something that we need to do. We're missing something. And so that's just another thing that just kind of kicks out our mind. And that's part of anxiety. So when you notice these warning signs, what do you do then? What's normal and what's not? And more importantly, can you just avoid these feelings? Or is it just how life is supposed to be?
The thing about stress and anxiety is there are some answers, but they're different for everybody. That being said, some of what we say tonight is going to be super helpful for you, and some of it might just not be for you right now. Just know that our end goal is to help you as much as we can because we love and care for all of you. To start, let's make sure we know the differences between anxiety and stress. What are these differences, Kendra? Stress is specific. It's a reaction to an actual situation, like the pressure you feel over an upcoming test or a big game. It's usually short-term. When the specific thing we're stressed about passes, the stress goes away. For an example, this mystery road trip that Ryan is taking the youth on this summer has been giving me a lot of stress lately because I am a control freak and I have to know everything. And so not going into the unknown has really been stressing me out a lot lately. But I went to Bible study last week and the message was about Abraham and how God sent him out into, he didn't even know where he was going, he didn't know what he was doing, and so I really just felt God telling me that this is the right thing to do, and I just need to trust in him, and all will be well. But on the other hand, anxiety is not specific. It's more like a reaction to the world as a whole. Anxiety is something you feel all the time about all things. It's a general feeling of unease or fear that doesn't go away, even after your stressful situation has. For an example, at our school, we have to put our phones in like a phone jail thing, and a lot of times when I don't have my phone within reach of me, like a lot of you, I feel, like I get anxious about not having it within reach because I'm addicted to it. But that's just an example of anxiety for me.
So contrary to what you may think, both stress and anxiety can be a good thing. Stress helps us accomplish what we need to accomplish. It pushes us to get better and to work hard. Just like schoolwork, when you're stressing out to just get it done on time, that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. Now, anxiety comes from the same fear part of our brain that puts us on high alert when there's danger nearby. We need that part of our brains.
But anxiety becomes a problem when it sticks around for too long, and there's no longer danger that our bodies need to pay attention to. And our mind is acting like there is, or we're constantly creating new situations to fear and be anxious about. We need to know that that was not how our bodies were made to work. In fact, if we live with that constant anxiety in our body, it creates a stress hormone that is pumped through our entire body that keeps us on high alert. And living like that for a long period of time just wears you down and wears you out.
And at that point, anxiety isn't helpful for pointing out danger. It's hurting you. It's keeping you from functioning a normal life. So the question is, what do you do about it? If you feel anxious almost all of the time, what are your options? Well, to start, you can talk to a friend, or go for a run, take a nap, lay off energy drinks, which I hear most of you middle schoolers do, and practice breathing exercises, or meet with your counselor, and so on. Like we already mentioned, coping will look different for everyone.
So for the next few minutes, we're going to look at one thing everyone in this room can do when you feel stressed or anxious, no matter how simple or severe your issue may be.
Anxiety isn't a new problem. It's a human problem. So even though it feels intensely personal and it makes you feel like no one else gets what you're going through, you can rest assured that you aren't the first and you won't be the last, and you are not alone. That's why we love the book of Psalms. There are several different types of literature in the Bible, but the book of Psalms is like a book of poetry. But in some places, it's more than poetry. It's like a journal written by real people who gave us specific insight into what they were feeling. Psalm 56 is like that. It is a poem written by David, who was probably the most famous king of Israel. We're told that this psalm was written when David was captured in Gath by the Philistines. In hindsight, we know that David lived through this experience, but at that time, David didn't know that. And so who knows how much stress and anxiety he was feeling at that time. So he writes, "Be merciful to me, my God, for my enemies are in hot pursuit. All day long they press their attack. My adversaries pursue me all day long." David's enemies are out to kill him. He would be crazy not to be afraid. But notice what he does here. He names the thing that is stressing him out. One of the trickiest things about anxiety is that it makes you feel powerless. It puts a general fear in your heart, and that's a hard thing to be. How do you know how to get over anxiety that doesn't tell you to be afraid of anything specific, just the world in general? David starts by being specific. Feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, just name it.
But the cool thing, David doesn't end here. "When I'm afraid, I put my trust in you. In God, whose word I praise, in God I trust and am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?" Check out what David does here. He moves his focus from what's making him afraid to the God he trusts. His circumstances don't change, but his focus does. His situation doesn't shift, but his perspective does. Let me say that again. His situation doesn't shift, but his perspective does. And that's important, because sometimes the thing that causes us to feel overwhelmed is something we can't even control. Guys, God is here and ready to start a relationship with you. I know a lot of you in this room maybe have heavy hearts and a lot of things that you just need to let go of and that are weighing you down. God is here. He is willing to start a relationship with you, and he is just waiting for you to come to him. And honestly, all of these things that are reality, like school and parents and friends turning on you, can't compare to what God is.
So those things that Patrick just mentioned, like school, parents, friends turning on us, they don't always go away like a test does once you've taken it. When life doesn't change, the one thing that we can change is what we do with and how we respond to the stress and anxiety that life brings us. We can bring it to God. 1 Peter 5:7 says this, "Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you, as he loves you so much that he wants to know what these problems that you're having are so that he can help you deal with them." So to start, to help you talk to God about that, we just can acknowledge what we are feeling. We name it. Then we can name why it bothers us. And then we can shift our focus to something else that is a reality, God's role in it. So think of it like this. When we're stressed or anxious, it can be helpful to name what, why, and who. Refer to the board for what we're trying to talk about. The what, why, and who.
Here's what I mean. Imagine your parents or step-parents are fighting like crazy. I don't care how old you are, when adults in your life are fighting, it's extremely stressful. Now, imagine during that kind of stress, you pray, "God, my parents are arguing all the time." Acknowledge the what is causing the stress, and then I'm afraid they're going to split up. I hate walking on eggshells at home, and the mood in the house is always tense. They're so caught up in their drama, they act like they don't even care about me. Acknowledge why it's causing stress, and finally, God, I know even if my home life feels out of control, you are in control. Even if my parents seem not to care, you do. Even if things at home change, you never change. That's who God is. One more time. Name what, name why, and then shift your focus to God.
In anxious situations, this can help. Will it fix everything? Probably not, but it can help you see clearer. The idea is to form a habit of focusing on truth and gaining a perspective that is larger than your current one. It will help you train your mind to get out of the rut of worry, stress, and anxiety. Think of it this way. There are tools to take on anxiety. David knew, but we know, that life can be overwhelming, and we will face things that we don't even feel prepared to face. We'll get stuck there. But he modeled a way through with tools that we can use today.
When it comes to stress and anxiety, there's no one-size-fits-all cure. There are lots of good and acceptable tactics that we can use, and that's okay. But what's not okay is letting anxiety become what's holding you back from what you really want your day-to-day life to look like, and all while you keep those feelings to yourself. That's why we want to begin the conversation today. We want you to know that if your stress and anxiety has begun to take over, we want you to know that this church, is one of the safest places to talk about it. And if you have a conversation with one of us or your small group leader today, I can guarantee you the conversation won't go like this. Just have more faith. Wow, nobody else feels like that. You have nothing to be stressed about. If I had a predict how that conversation would go, I'm guessing they won't be surprised at all. They'll encourage you and they'll help you figure out what the next step is.
So as you head out today, no matter where you are and what you're feeling, like stuck in the anxiety, stuck in the stress, or not in the middle of it right now, be aware that seasons like that are likely to come. You need to know that you aren't and you won't be helpless. There are tools to take on anxiety. There are people to walk with you. There are ways forward. And there's a God who is absolutely crazy about you and will be with you through it all. Let's pray. God, I just want to thank you for being here tonight and speaking through Kendra and I to these students here. I just pray that you help them understand if they have anxiety or stress and help them to come to you for it because you love us so much and you want to help us take care of it. Because we know that there are tools to take on anxiety and you are here to help us. So I just pray that you give us the confidence to do so. And I just pray that everyone had a great time tonight, learned lots, and will be able to use it in their everyday lives. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.